So what are we going to do in this episode? Well, mainly welding the bulkhead up. I'm kind of separating my time in between welding the bulkhead and getting that back into one piece. I've got one repair panel that I'm still waiting for, which is the inner skin from the around the fart flaps. I call them fart flaps. I don't know why I call them fart flaps. I've always called them fart flaps. But around the vent panels on the top of the bulkhead. So I've got the outer skin. I've got everything I need apart from that inner skin piece. And it's going to get to the point where I need to unpick the outer skin in order to weld it on. Right, got the A post, got the footwell, got it lined up roughly in place. I've had to cut quite a lot of the top end of the bulkhead out. Reinforcing plate is good enough for the windscreen. I'll clean that up. That's not a problem at all. The rest of this is outer skin. That's all going to come off. And inner skin, which is all going to come off. So you see the profile works quite nicely. That captive plate there I need to sort out. This will need clamping together a little bit tighter. Should be able to do that quite easily. And then weld it. Along this top edge here, I'm going to use these are the mounting holes here for the masters. There's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. They all line up. I just use 2 of the bolts really just to give me a reference point from the new footwell to the old bulkhead. So these 4 here are quite important. On this edge up here, the new footwell doesn't quite meet up to the edge up here, and that's pretty untidy. So what I'm going to do on the other side, you see how solid this thing is now, just with 4 pop rivets. What I'm going to do on the other side here is cut this entire piece out and weld a new piece of metal in there. The rest of this I can plug weld, not a problem at all. There's just too many spot welds on that for it to look anywhere near tidy, so I'm going to cut it off and do that again. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. And then up here you can see where the return edge and so forth has just rotted out. Now for this piece here there is a reinforcing piece that goes in there, so again cleaning up all this edge before I weld that on. What I wanted to do really was just to make sure everything was roughly in the right sort of place before I went berserk with it. Just a simple kind of fillet that I cut the original piece out. I'll weld that piece in, and then I can weld the footwell to the underside of it. It will look very much like that. It's the support bracket for the throttle mechanism that needs to go through that, so I'm going to need to drill a couple of holes through it when I finish that anyway. When I've done that, I then want to line up these 2 pieces down here. Then I'm going to take off the footwell and sort that piece out up there. Just a little small plate needs to go onto that. Then it can all get welded together. Pretty confident about this. Needs a bit of zinc in there first of all. Here we go. Right, just about to butt weld this little repair panel, this closing piece. So the footwell goes that way round. Clutch pedal, brake pedal, clutch pedal, brake pedal. And this is the panel I've put in. I've aligned it to the footwell. The footwell's not the greatest fit, but it's good enough. And so I'll put that piece on. I'll put this closing piece down here. Then I'm going to work on this top edge up here. I don't want to disturb these holes because those are important, but I can cut the rest of this crap out. And a lot of that you can't really see anyway. It's too low. But otherwise this thing's starting to look quite sensible. These fellas, by the way, that's not a captive bloody plate in there. They've just put spire nuts or something through, so I'm going to have to drill it out and put new spire nuts in there. That's the only way I'm going to get that out. I'll do that when I take the footwell and the A-post out after I've lined everything up on the bulkhead. Because at the moment I've got the footwell pop riveted in, just half a dozen pop rivets going around, just holding it, a couple of bolts, just holding it so it's roughly in place. Alright, you see where I'm going with it, can't you? You can see where it came from and what it's going to. So it is recoverable. That's that bit not badly done. It's going to need a seam seal, but before I do that I'm going to prime it, epoxy prime it, and then seam seal it. And it might need just a skim of filler over the inside just to completely disguise the fact that there's a join along there. Now I'm going to put this closing piece on here. Now I know exactly where it needs to go to. What I'm basically doing is I'm taking a straight edge reference using my long straight edge and kind of measured it using distance from the bottom of that one, and I know that's in exactly the right place. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to tag that fella on. Oh dear. It's a lot of bloody welding today, I tell you. Tag that on, and then I'm going to cut these pieces out up here. I'll cut it sort of there and weld it onto this edge here. Try and retain these square holes if I possibly can, but if I can't, like that one, I'm not going to be able to, then tough. And this I'm going to have to cut out, but I'm going to do that once I've got the floor pan out ready to sort it all out and weld it back in again. And this side will be nearly done. An improvement. When it comes to welding this thing in, I am going to plug it, probably from this side, so it keeps the inside looking tidy. And I've got all these plug holes already. Just fill those with weld, plug weld it in. I just need to drill, when I drill the spot welds out, I'll drill the holes up to about 6-7 mil, then I can plug weld through those. And obviously on the inside I'll be able to see enormous amounts of penetration, like you can see the penetration there. Where the metal changes colour, you know that the weld has penetrated. Like these spot welds, there's a good example. Shows you good penetration for now. Okay? And that's what you aim for when you're welding this sort of shit. This up here, I'm probably just going to end up leaving it as it is. It's not the tidiest looking thing, but when you're sitting in the car, you can't see it. Because that's kind of, you know, you're looking over through the windscreen, which is up here. So I'll probably I might wob it up. There's a difference between wobbing up rusty metal and wobbing up a gap, which you just cannot be bothered to weld up for the sake of welding it up. Right, so just getting this thing lined up. It's all pop riveted still in place at the moment, but the idea is that it fits. I just need to check the verticals on that against the other side. These bolt holes line up, those bolt holes line up. And now I've taken all of the pop rivets out, apart from the ones on the A-post to the footwell. I need to make sure I can remove it. If I can remove it, then it means that I can weld these two together on the bench. And then it can all go back into that and be welded on. There's a few welds I need to tidy up as well while I'm up here, and also sort this freaking mess out up here. I don't know how I'm going to do that actually. Drill them out, I think. These are the captive plates for the door check straps. I put lots of zinc seal in there. This thing's going to get properly seam sealed up anyway. Right, let me crack on with this because I can't do it one-handed. There he is. Training again. Those RF boys. Right. We have now got this into a state where I'm going to put this footwell back in. So I've got it all welded on, ground back, ready to pop on, I reckon. Pulls down. Is it going to go back one-handed? Is it going to go back one-handed? Oh, not far off. I will need two hands, I'm afraid, folks. Oh no, I can do it one-handed. There's a couple of pop rivets there that need doing. On the whole, that's going back in. Nice. Right, let me get this back together. I'm going to put a few tags of weld on it, and then I shall come back to you. Let that cool down a bit now. I cut the captive plate out in the end because it wasn't the prettiest thing. I'll make up a new captive plate and I'll weld it into that hole, but that can be done once the bulkhead's back on even. I wanted to get the footwell in so I can get on with the other side. And that's this side, apart from seam sealing and just flattening back some of these welds, that's this side done on the footwell. I still need to do the top half, the supporting bracket, but I need this top plate before I go any further. Starting to unpick this top edge here. I know this edge is absolutely destroyed, but I'm trying to unpick it so I can get the outer skin in roughly the right sort of place. So the best way of doing this is get one of these nasty bastards, wear eye protection, wear, gauntlets, everything. These are nasty. The problem we've got with these is they're actually too big when they're brand new to fit inside the guard. So I have to kind of go through my trial of fire without the guard on and then put the guard back on again. but those things do shed lumps of wire at a very high velocity, so be careful. Now, what I do with that is I work my way around here finding out the spot welds. Find the tiny little spot welds all around here. Not particularly because I want to save the inner skin, but because I want to keep the inner skin as a reference at the moment. I keep saying inner skin, don't I? Anyway. So there's a couple there. There's quite a few there actually. On this side it's a bit easier to see where the spot welds are. Probably fairly easy to make it up myself using I haven't got a folder that's that long, you see. I've only got like a 2-foot metal brake, and it's going to need a metal brake for a start off, because we've got lots of we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 folds on that, so it needs a a decent sized metal brake, sheet metal brake, and a lot of pissing around. And I thought, well, if I could buy the bit for 80 quid, then fuck it, I'll do that. But if the company's going to mess me around, then I won't. It hasn't arrived yet. I chased them up yesterday. Metal is waffer thin. I mean, that is. Oh, and I found some more filler down here, but this was largely because I think someone had used some percussive maintenance, belted it one with a hammer. I thought I'd show you this. So basically all I've done here is use the edge of a grinding disc over the spot welds, and that has released the outer skin from the inner skin. And here you can see the structure a bit better. So that's the outer skin over there. And this whole chunk here is the inner skin, just like a reinforced panel. So I guess it's a reverse of the outer skin. There's the outer skin there. It's a bit blurred there, wasn't it? Sorry about that. That's the outer skin there. This is the inner skin. So having done that, I just need to take a couple more bits off here, then I can start to line up the new panel. think that's kind of it. So I've got a nice big long straight edge along the top edge, lined up the bottom lip against the inside both sides. I made a bit of a dent there, but I can straighten that out. The clamp was too big for it. The only thing that's slightly perplexing is that the new panel doesn't quite have enough beef to meet up with the old panel. I think now I know that that is going to fit, I need to now take off this footwell, or finish taking off this footwell. I don't think there's a huge amount left to go with it, to be honest. It's going to be a very tidy butt weld in the middle of those two. I mean, the panels aren't even really the same length. I'll do something with it. The worst comes to the worst, I will put a sheet of steel underneath this, underneath this along its length, which will then meet up with whatever replacement I've got here. So it's not going to be an issue. I don't know what these are for though. Wipers and washers, wiper and washer. I don't know what the holes on the top are for. Right, next thing I am going to do is remove this, if it'll ever come off. It's quite hardly sprung. I can see the captive nuts now for those bastards. So I'm just going to grip them in a mole grip and take them off, and then I can work out at my leisure what I need to do with regards to remaking that entire section. Also, you will notice that when this piece goes on, it doesn't actually meet up with the back here, so I might as well cut this entire flange fanar off and remake it so it's going to meet up with this. It's not going to take a lot of effort. I'm quite happy with this. I don't need the lip on there. The lip is part of the original seal, and I found that the push-on seals work an awful lot better. Heretic! Burn the heretic! That'll work. Right, let's get on with it. So that can go up there. These things, by the way, this is a fire blanket, big fire blanket, very, very good at protecting things when you're casting the grinding sparks around with gay abandon. You can see the remains in there. Right, cracking on. It's a lot easier getting these things off when you know, kind of, having done one side. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to bother separating this lip out because this lip is 90% fucked. So there's a few spot welds I can drill out. The inner sheet is the footwell, the outer sheet is the floor pan. So if I just use the same technique as I was using before, I've even marked up some of the spot welds there. Cut here, cut along there, along the corner, and just weld a new flange for now. And on the bottom there, this piece here, I can see the spot welds easier on the inside. Now the inside part here is the footwell. So if I grind on the inside where I see the spot welds, then I should be able to just liberate that piece and leave the outside piece intact. Up here, it's all a bit of a disaster zone. Well, it looks like a disaster zone, but it's actually not as bad. Largely because this side's unmolested. So I've cut it all right back. So there you can see, very clearly see the reinforcing piece that's built. It's about the only curved bit on the Land Rover, I would suggest, apart from the steering wheel, of course. So that piece there is what the screen hinges support against, and it gives it a bit of rigidity. I'm going to trim this piece of the outer skin back because I don't need any of this crap. If I get all that back, I might then be able to salvage this bracket here, which is the door check strap. I got the captive nuts. I didn't bother trying to undo them in the end. I just cut the fuckers off. So I've got the screen brackets off intact, which is nice. And then with this piece here, what I'll end up doing is cut this lip off up here and weld a new piece of steel in, which includes the flange, the angle there that the door seal will need to go onto. But I can't do any of that until I've got the actual A-post on. So first and foremost, I think the trick is to take this back, so I've got the bare minimum of stuff for me to piss around with. Might move the cardboard boxes right next to them, chuck them in the back of the Land Rover or something. Side piece is actually more solid on this side than it was on the other side, on the driver's side. It's only really been sort of bodged along this bottom edge here. And if I just cut that whole lip off, just make myself up some 1 by 1 centimetre angle and weld it on all the way along there, and that'll do then as a return for the footwell. Then I can get the footwell in, A-post on, and be done with this, and sit there waiting then for this top rail to come on before I can do the outer skin. But at least I can, well, I can't even put the bulkhead back on the car because I want to paint it. It's no wonder I get a bad back. Oh, anyway, cleaned all these edges up. I'm going to weld a complete new flange for now along this edge here that goes like that one, because that one just ended up being a pitch patch of potch and botch. That's good. I can use that again. It's quite strong there. Just a little bit of a patch at the top there, but that's part of the flange at the top for now. And then I've managed to salvage all of this lot, which is from the bulkhead side, apart from this edge down here, and that's looking particularly ropey there, so I might actually end up cutting that off and just welding a piece of metal in to cover that off. Fucking thing. Can't stand the pressure, etc, etc, etc. Sit down for a minute. These Land Rovers come with very handy bumpers. Useful seats. Oh, there's a seat there, look. Got my tripod on it though. Oh dear, oh dear. I've had enough of this for today. I just looked at my watch, it's 4 o'clock, I'm not even had my lunch yet. Now, I'm going to hang around in the farm because obviously I've been quite aggressive with the grinding sparks today. So I'm going to put this to one side because I've had enough of doing that. I'm not going to weld in the footwell today, but I am going to do the brakes on this. I stripped this corner down already yonks ago, so I think it's time to put it back together again. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. It does help. I know if you're watching on the telly you can't subscribe, but when you eventually get to your computer or your smartphone or your tablet or whatever, hit the old subscribe button. I need subscribers so I can start to think about monetising this channel. If I can monetise the channel, mind you, I'd imagine the amount of swearing is going to demonetise me almost instantly. And do I give a shit? Probably. It's all free money, isn't it?